I'm Harry, this is Drum Electric, and it turns out that the SPD-SX Pro, you can use all of the outputs and kind of use it as an audio interface, which is pretty amazing. So before we get started, there's two things that you'll need. The first is a USB-B cable, which is this fat, chunky one that you can't quite see. That's this fat, chunky one. It's usually called up like a printer cable, that sort of thing. In this case, it's a USB-B cable. I've got it to USB-C because I've got a Mac that was made recently, and I just hate having adapters now. So had a little tip, but that's all you'll need for that. And then the only other thing you'll need is actually the driver in order to use it. So all you have to do is Google Roland SPD-SX Pro drivers, look for the Roland support page, which is SPD-SX updates and drivers. You'd think I'd be able to say that by now. Then you get to this page, and all you have to do is look for the driver version for whichever computer you're using. In my case, it's a Mac, so I'm going to be using driver for Mac. Click on whichever one is for you. Click on the I agree and wish to proceed with the download, because we've all absolutely read that, and then download the file. You will need to restart your computer or laptop, so when you do go to download this, just make sure you're prepared for that. But then we can move on. So up next is the SPD-SX Pro itself. Really simply, all we have to do is go onto Menu, over to System, and then down to USB Audio. From there, on the top left-ish of the screen, you want to go down to the third setting, which says Driver Mode. There's two modes here. There's Generic, and then there's Vendor. Use the plus or minus to switch. If you haven't plugged in the USB cable like me, then as you switch, a little message will come up that just says all of these settings will be modified and changed after you plug in the USB cable, which is fine. Just hit enter to go OK. And as you can see, it's now on vendor, which is great. So I'm just going to hit the kit button and go back to the main kit. Generic means it only sends out MIDI from the USB and you don't need any drivers for that. But vendor means that we can send out MIDI and use all of the audio outputs on the back, which is what the driver's for. It's all free, it's all there, it's just a little bit finicky as you do it. So now all we do, plug in the USB cable. From here, just load up your DAW of choice or whichever software you're using. In my case, I'm gonna use Ableton, but this does work on Logic, and this does work on, I'm pretty sure, all of the other softwares as well. It's pretty incredible. So I'm gonna go into preferences and just check that it's being read and detected by going into audio, input device, whichever one you want, but the output device, the SPD-SX Pro 8 in 12 out, and that's what we want. In Ableton specifically, I need to configure the inputs and outputs. So for now, I'm just using it to output. So output config, I've got up to 12 mono outputs and 12 stereo outputs. I'm just gonna click on all of those, hit OK, close that, and now, if I go to an audio track, I should be able to send that to external out. And there we go. I have all of those choices. I now have access to all of these outputs. That's really cool, and it kind of now means that if I'm not running redundancy on gigs on an Ableton rig, I don't have to take an interface and I can output everything from the SPD-SX Pro because it's balanced outputs. That's pretty crazy. Haven't tried it yet though. There's still some trust in there that I'm not quite sure on, but I like to know it exists, you know what I mean? Feel free to adapt those settings for whichever software you would like to use. If you'd like to see my opinion on whether I think you should buy the SPD-SX Pro, feel free to hit the link in the description down below. And with that, if you have any questions, put them in the comments section down below, and I hope you have a great day.